Hello, this is Jessica Hatcher, and I am looking at Common Sense Media's the unit lesson plans for grades 6 through 8, which is the grades I'm primarily interested in teaching. Looking through these different lessons, the first that caught my eye was the strategic searching. I work with a lot of 5th and 6th graders at local Charlottesville schools. In particular, I work with them in the library, frequently on their computers. And I will say that nothing drives me crazier than watching a 12-year-old Google search something. For one thing, they always seem to type in a full question rather than keywords, and then it takes them a while to parse through the results that they get. They're easily frustrated. Sometimes they don't understand the difference between images and maps and the general search, and don't necessarily choose like the best options with regards to that. And so it's a lesson that I see myself teaching very early on with middle schoolers, is how to search strategically. Common Sense Media has really great lesson objectives, and they already outline how it's aligned with standards, and so you'll know what you're covering. Um, their lesson objectives are to understand the importance of using a variety of search strategies, master new strategies for effective and efficient online searches, and learn to create and execute a 5-step plan for conducting an online search. Um, this might not be engaging in and of itself, but I think that if you were pairing this with, like, say, research projects, particularly towards the beginning of the school year, you could really teach this as a mini lesson in an authentic way, where they would be then first learning these strategies and then immediately applying them to their own research. Um, the family tip sheet that they provide explains the issue and why it matters, beyond the fact that what I said, oof, you should see a fifth grader Google search something sometimes. And then they provide what the common sense um, principles are, all of which I agree with pretty heartily. Um, so they include things like going beyond Google, looking at a bunch of different sites, using keywords, not just using multiple and specific and descriptive keywords, I think, but really just if you can get to the point where they're using keywords. Trying synonyms, using quotation marks, using the minus sign, paying attention to where you're clicking, and looking at trusted sites, and also like teaching kids how to identify trusted sites, which partially comes from looking at .gov, .edu, .org, but also giving them information about which publications can be trusted. So, for example, if you're looking for information about animals, which I've seen fifth graders and sixth graders do research projects on multiple times, looking at a website like National Geographic rather than, I don't know, cats.com, which I'm sure is a website somewhere. And the differences between that. National Geographic is a trusted publication where you're going to get lots of good and engaging information, whereas random internet page about cats might lead to some misunderstandings or some misconceptions. I don't necessarily love the worksheet that they provide. For one thing, I'm not convinced that there's any educational value in a word search at all. That being said, I can see it as something to have there for students who are maybe doodlers to be looking at while you're talking. Maybe that multitasking is not something I'm convinced of either. They have it as they have suggestions for making the a poster that outlines the 5-step search plan using the search anagram, which is down here, which I don't really think of as an authentic assessment. It's probably not how I would assess it, but I think having them create, maybe like a post-it note or a note somewhere that they can see it, like, having them write it on a post-it note and then putting that post-it note on their computer for them to remember it, that could be something helpful that then they could turn around and apply to their own authentic assessments or authentic tasks. They have a search game that I think you could incorporate into a lesson, maybe even as a hook. Doing something like a Google a day game. And then they have the search anagram, which I think is helpful. And as I said, I think it would be great if you had it like as something where the students could just glance and look at it before they did searching for a more authentic activity or more authentic assessment. So yeah, this is Common Sense Media's strategic search lesson. I like it. I think it's something that I would definitely build off of, which is pretty exciting.